Hello everyone, welcome to another Batman miniature game battle report, and Jason Todd is out for his revenge finally today as we have 350 rep of the Militia going up against a Joker crew. So here's 350 rep of Joker's crew being led by Arkham Asylum Joker with Solomon Grundy as a free agent. Then we have Rasta Clown, Ace of Spades, Joker's bus driver from the Why So Serious box, and Bogrin the Cursed, who has been given neurotropic drugs which give him fast and dodge, and also a grapple gun, using up most of the leftover funding thanks to a few of the henchmen having very expensive guns. Rasta Clown especially, that's 600 funding just to get an assault rifle on him. And 4 objectives: Titan, Contraband and Loot. And this is the Militia crew that's going to be going up against Joker. Essentially the Militia bat box, with the exception of the Arkham Knight Scarecrow being swapped out for the Terror in Gotham Scarecrow, because he's cheaper and cooler looking. But anyway, being led by Jason Todd Arkham Knight, the Scarecrow free agent from Terror in Gotham, and then it's just all the soldiers from, or the Militia from the Militia box. So the Lieutenant, the one with the shield, the Medic, the Cybernetic Brute, the Missile Launcher, and the Carbine. The Carbine has an extra magazine, and also the Arkham Knight has cybernetic arms, so he has reinforced gloves, and also hidden magazines, so +1 ammunition. And their objectives are Loot, Medic, and Drone. So we're going to be playing Scenario 2 for you today, Plunder. So that is, all your objectives have to be in the 6-inch area, and it's the furthest one away from you, so bottom team's objectives are here, top team's is here. Rolled off to decide who went where. Joker's crew's here, Militia here. If at the end of one of the battle rounds you own 2 of your own objectives, you get 4 victory points. If both sides do it in the same turn, no victory points for anyone, then it's mine, simple one extra bonus victory point at the end of the game, if when the game ends you own one of your own objectives. And we can have a look over here to see how we're deployed. Joker, I guess, just came out of this limo with Rasta Clown and Bogrin. Those are just there to remember his upgrades. Then we have a lamp. We have Ace of Spades and Grundy over here. We've got the drone and the medical and a sewer grating here. And then over here we have Joker's objectives in a line basically. The Titan, Contraband and Loot. Scarecrow is out of the deployment zone because he has undercover, so he can be up to 8 inches away from his starting deployment. But he has to be 4 inches away from objectives, so he is 4 inches away from the loot. Nice big cluster of Militia over here, that's the vast majority of them. And then we have the Shield Op, the Cybernetic Brute, and Jason himself over here. Also, it's the Shield Op who is controlling the drone this time, not the Lieutenant. I think that covers everything other than to go over to the bag and see who's going to go first. Green for Joker, pink for Militia. Battle round 1 will be starting with the Militia going first. So as we covered the first Militia activation, just also covering, because I forgot to mention it, that Joker's bus driver, if you've seen him be used before, you'll know he has timely arrival. He isn't on the board until turn 2, when he can pop up wherever he likes, basically, to shotgun someone in the back. Anyway, Jason activated for the Militia. He inspired to give an extra movement counter to the 2 henchmen he was with. He then used his mini movements plus Backclaw to park himself up there. He didn't have enough special left over assigned to activate rapid fire, which I think counteracts aim, but either way he didn't fire this turn. He's just in a prime position to fire on Solomon and Ace of Spades if they approach, and they can't really do anything. Well, you can throw a grenade at him, but Solomon can't really do anything to him. So that's got the game started. Joker's crew has 2 passes availed to them if they so choose. Let's see what happens. Bogrin the Cursed activated for Joker's crew to get their game started, and he has fantastic movement thanks to having the grapple gun fast on top of being large and 2 movement counters at least to burn. He used his grapple gun. He couldn't quite get close enough to the loot with a movement counter left over to pick it up, so he has opted instead to block the sewer grating there and contest the loot belonging to the Militia. So that's all he could do. Obviously it's looking like Scarecrow is gunning for the loot. Not much they can do this turn about it, but we'll see if that puts him in a good position for next time, I guess. So in a similar action to Bogrin, the Cybernetic Brute activated, making use of his inspired 1 extra movement, and has moved up, blocked the sewer grating here. He's slightly off to the side just to remember that it's there, and is contesting the Titan belonging to Joker's crew. Solomon Grundy bundled forwards as best he could, and he couldn't quite touch the medical, but he is nearby there. And then for the Militia, the Shield Op, he had an extra movement counter as well, moved towards the Contraband, could not get any closer than that. He does have 2 counters left over, however, so the drone is going to have a couple of extra inches of potential movement at the end of the battle round. Ace of Spades activated next and has moved alongside, trying to get a little bit of blockage there from Arkham Knight up there. Whether or not that will give a ping, I guess it will just depend on if the Arkham Knight shoots at him. And then for the Militia, the rocket launcher wielding Militia member just hopped up onto this little building here, basically giving him, he's got medium range on the missile launcher I believe, so that's what, 16 inches, assuming that the target is eliminated, or 12 if they're not. Threat range in a bubble, so it seemed like a pretty good idea to kind of defend that area, given that I think from that range you can just about cover 2 of the 3 objectives for the Militia, for the Joker's crew that they're after rather. So seemed like a good move, just for area denial. We'll see how that pans out. Joker's crew made use of both their passes next, so a couple of Militia activations, just a couple of shuffling really. The Lieutenant moved up to where you can see him currently, then the Medic followed suit just to kind of be with them. So Joker has to activate either himself or Rasta Clown, I believe that's all they have left. And then for the Militia it's the Carbine Op and Scarecrow. Joker activated next and inspired to give an extra movement counter to Rasta Clown. Then for the Militia, the Carbine Op has moved up right next to Scarecrow, and because Bogren was lit up by the light there, took shots with Assault 3 because he moved, so he couldn't fire 5, did 2 blood to Bogren. Also just seeing the pointlessness of giving him the dodging ranged attack when he has movement stat 2, but you know, whatever. So now Joker has to activate Rasta Clown and then the Militia have to activate Scarecrow. They wanted it to be the other way around, the Joker's crew actually, to be specific, because then could have taken shots at Scarecrow, and he has Charming, so he's hard to hit in close combat, but it doesn't affect ranged. Sadly not going to be able to do that this turn though. Let's see what happens. So Rasta Clown activated, as we said. He moved up to the ammo, and given that he can just take some ammo back next turn, he opted to fire just 1 shot because he moved, so it has to be rate of fire 1. He is accurate, but it didn't matter because there was no dodging and there was no ping. He was going to shoot at Scarecrow because again he had clear line of sight, however Scarecrow is defense 4, Carbine Op is defense 3, so he shot with the 1 bullet, it got through, and as you can see it did 3 blood. However he also got crit, so it did a stun, and the Carbine Op only has 4 endurance, so he is knocked out, which is pretty devastating for the Militia side. That is a victory point given up. Scarecrow still has to go though, so we'll get that covered, and that will take us to the end of battle round 1. So to end battle round 1, Scarecrow moved up and finally got his hands on the loot, so it's on his person now. He then used his Fear Gas spray, which is expansive. It could only reach Bogren, it did a blood because it landed, and it does Terror too, and I do have a question for clarity, because Terror says it affects you in the following round. Does it mean the next game round, or does it mean the round in which you are afflicted by the Terror? Because it lowers your willpower by 2, so that's pretty damaging to a henchman because they don't have good willpower. So does that mean in his next turn the Terror 2 sets in, and in this turn it technically just does the blood damage? That's my understanding. That makes the most sense to me, but if that's wrong, please let me know, because it's ambiguously worded. But that's how we're going to run it for now. It doesn't count as a physical hit, there was no physical punches, so... Oh, never mind, that's not the objective in this scenario. I keep getting it confused with the scenario that's on the next page, which has the first team to land a punch. So either way, Bogren's on 3 blood in total. Now it's time for recovery and recap. So at the end of battle round 1, both teams are tied up with the 1 victory point each. Joker's crew scored it for knocking out a henchman, the poor Carbine Militia member. He never has a good time. And the Militia themselves scored 1 victory point for Scarecrow holding on to the loot that belongs to Joker. In terms of recovery, there was no stun, only blood damage. The Militia with the Carbine needed 4 on 2 dice, 4 or under on 2 dice. He rolled 5, so he was that close to waking up. It's very unlikely, although the Medic is nearby, so next turn he can actually get him up, although he still won't have an activation. So, very calm first turn. The calm before the storm, you might say, because next turn is going to be loud and bloody, if I had to guess. But who is going to be going first in it? That's the key question, and the answer to that question is the Militia again. So before we get into the nitty gritty of battle round 2, Joker's bus driver has arrived. He's hiding behind this dumpster at the back line of the Militia deployment. Also the drone has moved ever so slightly next to the medical. So for the Militia, the Arkham Knight, Jason Todd, activated. He also activated rapid fire for a special, so his rate of fire went up by 1, shot 3 shots into Grundy. 1 failed to hit, the other 2 succeeded, so he did a massive 6 blood. and he was target painted. Oh, that's a thing, target painted is +1 to hit rolls. I wonder if that would have made the last hit. It's not on camera, can't go back and check, so we'll just have to run it as is, unfortunately. Either way, he was target painted and he got hit. Didn't even need to do damage actually, as long as one hit is successful. So that's 1 victory point given out by the drone this turn. So Joker's first activation was Rasta Clown, who took some ammo from the ammo he is holding, well, contesting because it's not his. He shot at Scarecrow and did amazingly well. He got 2 hits through, that's 6 blood. Scarecrow has 6 endurance, so he is dead. That is remarkable bad luck. And that's how you get round charmed. You shoot people with charmed at long range, so you don't have to passive roll to hit them in close range. He dropped the loot, that's a free agent dead. That Scarecrow just has no luck. I don't think it was in a battle report on this channel, but last time he was fielded, he died to Poison Ivy turn 1. So, the Scarecrow's having no luck. Still a great model, but he is dead. So as an immediate retaliation, the Militia Lieutenant activated and has moved to the loot and picked it up to claim it from the bundle of hay that's next to him that used to be Scarecrow. Solomon Grundy activated and has moved up. He did not have enough to reach the Titan or the Cybernetic Brute, and he doesn't have reach on his tombstone. It's his literal tombstone, it's Cyrus Gold's tombstone. So he stopped by the lamp instead and smashed it to plunge himself into darkness, hoping to protect himself from any kind of long-range ballistics. So next activate was the Shield Up, who has moved and claimed the contraband, so hopefully he'll be getting some points at the end of the turn. Pass was used by Joker's crew, so the Medic activated, spent 2 special to activate the Medic skill, and has woken the Carbine up. He stays knocked down and he's not allowed to have an activation this turn, but if he's still alive he will have an activation next turn. Ace of Spades activated next, moved out to contest the medical, and he tossed a grenade up at the Arkham Knight. It doesn't do any damage, it does Enervating 1 and Poison. Enervating doesn't matter because Arkham Knight's already had an activation, but he is poisoned, so at the start of his next activation he has to pass an endurance roll. If he doesn't, the poison stays on and he takes 1 blood, until such time as he either dies or passes the test successfully. The Cybernetic Brute activated next, and he has reach on his baton, so he just moved to the other side of the Titan, struck out at Solomon Grundy and did an amazing 6 stun, so plus the 6 blood he already has on him. That's 12 damage on Grundy. He is still standing. He has 14 endurance, he is desensitized as well, so he doesn't lose counters, so he's hurt, but he can still fight at full efficiency. Next turn, anyway. Joker was up next, and he is hiding behind the pillar here. He just moved up, he didn't do much of anything else. So the Militia only had the shield as the rocket launcher up left because the Carbine Op doesn't get an activation this turn. He knows the Joker's bus driver is probably coming for him, and Solomon Grundy is literally just out of the 12-inch range of shooting a missile at him. So he is moved, means he can't fire, but he moved to try and hide himself from Joker's bus driver. So now Joker has Bogrin and the bus driver, and that will take us to the end of battle round 2. So to cover the last 2 activations for Joker's crew, the bus driver with his medium range shotgun, which is pretty good. It's only rate of fire 1 whether he moves or not, however. He moved up, he shot the missile launching militia member in the back for 2 stun, 1 blood. He's on 1 endurance remaining. And then Bogrin moved up, he has reach on his club thingy, whatever it is, like street sign. He swung at the militia lieutenant, did 4 blood. I think he has 5 endurance, he might have 6. Either way, he's still conscious, so he's still holding the loot as we move into recovery and recap for turn 2. So despite turn 2 being fairly bloody for both sides, the scoring actually wasn't that high. The Militia got 1 for holding onto the loot again, although obviously Scarecrow isn't holding it this time. Scarecrow went down second turn, right? So actually, yeah, that's Joker's points right there. 4 in total victory points for taking out a free agent, 3 for a knockout, 1 for casualty. The Militia also got very lucky with their contraband roll with a 6, which gave them 3 victory points. In terms of recovery, however, there was none. So the rocket launcher militia member still has 2, Grundy still has 6, and the Carbine Op, who's now awake, just automatically had the 1 stun removed so that he would have some HP because he's 1 hit away from death. If he gets 1 blood, he's gone for good. So it's going to be another messy round. It's definitely more in the favour of Joker's crew going first. We shall see, however. It is indeed Joker going first in battle round 3. So Joker had a lot of first activation options here that all could have been good. It really looked like Grundy was going to get knocked out. He's guaranteed to wake up as long as he's not dead, but he was pretty much guaranteed to go down, so he activated 5 attacks, Cybernetic Brute, 4 blood, 4 stun. He has 8 endurance, so he is knocked out. Not dead, but knocked out. And Grundy is contesting, or rather, no, wait, no, he's stupid, so he can't contest. No, stupid just means you can't manipulate. You can still contest, or claim, rather. So he is claiming the Titan, he just can't use it to get a Titan dose. And again, the way we play it here, if it's a large or huge model, tiny, like up to 2-inch high bits of scenery should not impose their movement. So he is at a weird angle, but that should be allowed because he's a gigantic monster. So he's claiming that Titan at that slightly weird angle. Over to the Militia, see what they can do. So the Militia also had some tricky choices for first activation, opted for the Lieutenant, who threw his one grenade he's allowed per game, frag grenade, at Bogren the Cursed. Didn't do the crit, so it doesn't do bleed via the shrapnel, I guess, but did do maximum damage for 1 blood, 1 stun. He had to spend a movement to move, and he's limited counters from being wounded. He's holding the loot, that's why he has to spend the extra movement. So he only had his base 4, which he has used to move next to the medic, and that's it, that's all he could do. Bogren the Curse activated next, and initially he was going to go after the Lieutenant, but there was 4 victory points for grabs if he could claim the contraband, because then Joker's crew would have 2 of their own objectives. So, because if he knocked down the Lieutenant would obviously put the loot on the opposite side, so he wouldn't be claiming it. So he moved up over here to the contraband. He did very well with his hits thanks to being obsessive. Not obsessive, the one that makes defense rolls -1 on attack heavy. Is that the one? No, that's +1 strength. Either way, he has obsessive though, and that's +1 to damage rolls as well. So thanks to that, he was only able to get 1 hit through because he rolled quite badly. That puts the shield op at half health, who managed to also negate at least 1 of his hits with 2 defense dice. It's not all said and done though, because Joker's bus driver is there, and if he can finish him off, the plan will still have worked. But it was going for a cheeky, maybe even greedy 4 victory points. It didn't pan out. Would have been a guaranteed knockout more or less because the Lieutenant didn't have any defense dice, but maybe Joker can reach him. Who knows? It's not over yet. So the rocket launcher using Militia member went next. He wanted to shoot Bogren, but he was so close to the explosion it would catch the other Militia member, potentially killing them, so couldn't take the chance. He's also not allowed to move because the rocket launcher has aim if he chooses to fire it, so he shot it instead at Joker's bus driver, got the hit, so 3 blood. Joker's bus driver is expendable though, so he gives up no victory points, and he still has 2 endurance left, I believe. Yeah, so he's still standing, but he is wounded. So Joker's bus driver activated next and politely ignored the fact somebody shot a missile into his face, moved around here and shot an innocent man in the back. So he did 2 blood, 1 stun. Sorry, literally the other way around. 1 blood, 2 stun, to the shield op, or the shield militia member, whatever. Coupled with the 2 blood, or 3 blood he had on him, he is knocked out. Not dead, but knocked out and no longer holding the contraband, which is very good for Joker's team. The carbine assault rifle militia using member decided to remind everybody that he is conscious, stood up, moved slightly, then assault 3, shot into Bogren, did 3 blood. Bogren still stands though. He's got 2 endurance remaining, I believe. So I'm not sure if... Well, Arkham Knight hasn't gone yet, but there was something else planned for him. Let's see what happens. Rasta Clown activated next. He took some more ammo first, then he moved up just 4 inches because he had nothing left, and then took a rate of fire 1 shot at the Lieutenant and missed just as a Hail Mary to try and make him drop the loot, but failed to do so. He's still up there with Joker though, backing him up. The Arkham Knight activated next and decided it was more pertinent to deny Joker's crew 4 victory points than potentially get 3 of his own. So Jason lined up, spent a special to rapid fire to get another shot on his rifle, used the last of his ammunition to shoot at Bogren and did 6 blood. Bogren is dead, so that's a henchman defeated, removed as a casualty, but he's out of ammo for his sniper. He still has an EM grenade and cybernetic gloves, so he has reinforced gloves for 2 stun if he punches, but he is slightly diminished now unless he can get his butt over to the ammo. So back over to Joker now, who still has himself and Ace of Spades to go, I believe, and that's it. Forgot to mention it during his activation, but Jason did pass his endurance roll, so the poison went away. Annoyed by this, Ace of Spades activated, still contesting the medical, fearing that Jason's going to go for it. Threw his remaining enervating poison grenade, this time he missed. So Jason is free from poison, unless Ace of Spades gets over to the ammo somehow. Joker activated and had exactly enough movement to get into base to base with the Lieutenant. As it turns out, he shivved him 3 times with his poison knife, got the crit, but it's irrelevant because the 3 blood was enough to kill the Lieutenant, so it's a henchman killed. The loot dropped, and it's just the medic to go to take us to the end of the turn. The medic is literally just going to spend a special to pick up, or sorry, spend a counter to pick up the loot and then move over there. Might take this. Actually, does he have enough on his card? I can't remember how he is dished out. 1 second. Okay, so it's a loot game of hot potato basically. The medic had 2 movement 2 special assigned because he was planning on healing the lieutenant. So made sure the loot was still touching him because the player who drops it decides where it goes. He picked it up, he moved to the sewer grating, took the sewer grating, and it's popped up here. Now he's not scoring anything from the medical, and the drone isn't doing anything for him because Ace of Spades stayed still, so it's contested, but he has moved to a relatively safe portion of the map, and that takes us to the end of turn 3. So that was a very interesting turn. As far as recovery goes, the Cybernetic Brute did not wake up. The rocket launcher, using Militia Member recovered 1 stun. And in terms of victory points, where do we start? Let's see, for Joker, they killed a henchman. They have the Titan for 2. They knocked out a henchman for another 1. Am I forgetting something? I think that's all they got this turn. An additional point for the knockout. Well, sorry, they technically got 2 because the lieutenant hadn't been knocked out prior, so he gave up 2 victory points, 1 for knockout, 1 for casualty. The shield up is still knocked out, and the Cybernetic Brute getting knocked out for another victory point as well, and Grundy holding the Titan is 2. For the Militia, they took out a henchman, so that's 1+1 for poor old Bogren dying. They still have the loot thanks to the hot potato, it just keeps getting passed to different Militia members until they die. So the medic holds the loot for 1, and no one holds a contraband, so that gave nothing this turn. No one holds the ammo that owns it, and the medical is contested, and the drone only gives out stuff on hits. So that is it. It's all to play for. I think the teams are, if they're not literally even, there's just 1 or 2 points in it. We're going on to battle round 4. I think whoever gets first activation is going to be very important for this particular round. It's going to be the Joker. So the first activation of battle round 4 for Joker was his bus driver. He moved into base with the contraband and shot his last round of ammunition from his shotgun into the rocket launcher using Militia Member, did 3 blood and has killed him for a total of 2 victory points. So with dwindling numbers, the first activation for the Militia was Jason. He backclawed down to the medical and behind, as I'm blocking the light, apologies, behind Ace of Spades. Didn't do very well with his attacks. He had 4, only 1 got through in the end. Did manage to get a knockdown though, only 2 stun, and he has 5 endurance? No, he has 6. He's a pretty tough clown for a henchman. So he is knocked down, you'll have to spend a counter to get up, but still fighting fit. He did land a hit though, within the drone's AoE, so he was target marked. Oh, don't remember if we took the +1 from being target marked into consideration, but it's too late to go back again now, unfortunately. Either way, still a victory point gained, but that could have been more damage. Joker activated for his crew next, and we're another Militia down, even though he wasn't that much of a threat because he was actually out of ammo, but still, Joker walked up to the carbine op and shivved him 3 times, for 3 blood in total, which was 3 hits because he only does 1 blood each time. He's dead. He's already given up a point for being knocked out once, so that's still just 1 additional victory point for being a casualty, but Militia doesn't have many people left on the field at this point, so over to them anyway. So for literally having no one else to activate because the 2 other people on the field are unconscious, Medic activated, tried to hit with just 2 attacks because he had 2 in defense. With Ace of Spades on the floor, got 1 hit and was unable to wound. So now it's just, who's left? Solomon Grundy and Ace of Spades himself. Oh, and Rastaclown hasn't gone this round yet either. So just to cover the last few activations of battle round 4, Rastaclown moved back and took some ammo from the ammo cache. Ace of Spades rather, he didn't have any counters left because he spent all his defense dice. Wait, actually no, he couldn't have spent his defense dice because you can't... Wait, can't you use defense dice? Yeah, you can use defense dice when you're knocked down but not when knocked out, yes, so it was fine, it was done correctly. So yeah, he didn't have anything left after spending a counter to stand up, so he's just contesting the medical so it doesn't give up points. Solomon Grundy could have grabbed the Cybernetic Brute for a victory point, killing him, then moved to block the sewer grating and still claim the Titan. And that's it, that takes us to recovery and recap. So wow, the Militia took a beating that turn. In terms of victory points, oh, it was like 4 and 3, I believe, for Joker for knockouts and casualties. Keep in mind the carbine op had already been knocked out once before, so his point had been given up. They also got 2 victory points for the Titan. They also got they got no victory points because they got a 2 on the contraband reward table. However, they do hold 2 of their objectives, and the other side does not. So Joker's crew gets 4 scenario victory points for that, which has made a massive difference. In terms of the militia, the drone gave out a victory point. There was another victory point for the loot being held by the medic, and the medical is contested. So that is it. So, let's see, in the penultimate turn, who is going first? It will be the militia. So these last 2 turns are going to fly by, basically. I don't think I remembered to mention, but the shield militia member did not wake up, so he's still unconscious. Arkham Knight activated, this time did much better with his cybernetic gloves, which are just reinforced gloves. Did 7 stun thanks to also getting the crit, so Ace of Spades is very much unconscious. He is super unconscious. So that's 1 victory point, plus 1 for the drone being in range for the hit again, and now the medical is also not contested. So for Joker's next activation, the bus driver activated and he just used his fists, punched down at the unconscious shield up. Only 1 hit got through, but that was enough because it got converted to blood, which was all he needed to be killed. So that's another victory point there for Joker's crew. So like I said, turns are going faster now. We're just going to cover the end of Battle Round 5. Rastaklan is staying still to contest the ammo away from the Surgraying. Joker moved up to Surgraying and has been a little bit brave and teleported out the Surgraying here in order to contest the medical to deny it. That does mean he's obviously open to potentially be attacked, but he's not been harmed, so it's probably going to work out good for him. So that takes us to the end of the round. We'll be back with a recap in a second. So as we recap the penultimate turn, Ace of Spades has woken up, so he'll get an action in the final turn. In terms of victory points, the Contraband did not give any points again to Joker. It got a 2 on the result. Titan gave 2, though, for Solomon Grundy. A henchman was killed for 1. For the militia, the loot gave a victory point, the drone gave a victory point, the knockout of Ace of Spades, even though it's now been reverted, gave a victory point, but the medical, being contested by Joker at the last second, has meant that it gave up no victory points. And we know, as we go into the last round, it's Joker's crew going first. It's going to be a quick turn, there's really not too much that can or needs to be done, but let's go take a quick look at how it goes. And with that, the super quick final turn is actually over because most people are just standing still on objectives. So the order in which it happened, Ace of Spades went first for Joker just to stand up because he had nothing but defense dice. The medic went, tried to kill him, or knock him out again. Failed, didn't get any hits. Over here, Jason, who's standing on a... I was wondering why he was so bouncy, standing on a Surgraying. He activated, attacked Joker, got a hit, so the drone will give up a point. Wasn't able to get through his defense, however. After that, it's irrelevant. If Joker if he scored maximum damage, he still couldn't kill Jason this turn. So that takes us to the end of the game and the final recap. So what a game that was. That was close for a while, but things just fell away for the militia. Just to correct something as we were tallying up the final scores here, totally forgot that Scarecrow has Scientific, which means he gave up an additional 1 victory point when he was taken out. That has been collated into the final scores, however, and along with that, Joker got 2 for the Titan, got 1 for the Contraband this turn, and the militia got 1 for the loot and 1 for the drone, so more or less cancelled each other out. However, the final scores, Jason did not get his revenge both in the result of the match or even taking Joker out. Joker's crew has 29 victory points, the militia only 16. I have heard the word from the bird that the militia is seen as very, very poor. I haven't seen much success with them at all, unless you do a lot of tinkering. It's just they don't have a lot of ammo, they all have low endurance. They're glass cannons, but their cannons aren't even that scary. Like, Rastaklan is scary, especially if you have him sitting on ammo. He did a lot of good work. Joker doesn't usually do much other than buff people for Inspires early on, because his shivs were actually pretty good this round as well. There was some bad luck, but yes, the militia got trounced. It was around about the tail end of Battle Round 3 where it really swung, so I didn't mean to be doing a Dutch angle. I just realised I'm kind of doing the Batman Dutch angle. So they need work. I'm not sure what you could do. I guess take another free agent, dump some of the trash and get a better free agent to fill the space. I still like that Scarecrow. The Scarecrow right here. I still like him. I love the model. I like his rolls, it's just every time he is used, he dies in some hilariously unlucky way. It's just his fate, apparently. Because on paper he should be so good. He has relatively low endurance, actually. I'm surprised he's only 6 endurance, but I guess that's to compensate for him having charming. So it's very hard to even succeed in attempting to hit him in close combat. And he is defense 4, I suppose. But that's going to do it for this game. There will be more to come in the future. I think our next game is going to feature a new crew. We'll see. Also, we'll be on the lookout for some DC Universe content coming soon to the channel. Hope you enjoyed watching, and we'll see you in the future for more. Ta-ta for now.